We love rabbit holes here. I think we all get totally obsessed by something, and I feel like if you're in this line of work, there's a little part of you that also loves like true crime or mysteries because
Yeah.
you just want to get to the bottom of something. So we'll find if someone comes in asking a research question, we adopt that as our own, and we'll get totally obsessed about something.
Hey everyone. Today on Bucks Co-Living, I have Annie Halliday. Annie is the Director of Library and Collections with the Mercer Museum. Now, if you are familiar with the Mercer Museum or Fonthill Castle in Doylestown, this is a wonderful collection. This is something that it steps back into time. Great eclectic collections from Henry Mercer himself. We're going to talk about all that, the history of Bucks County, the history of the museum itself, and the history of Fonthill Castle. Annie, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So Annie, you're the director now. You just got this job 2 weeks ago. The new title. What does that entail?
So yes, I recently was just promoted to Director of Library and Collections at the Mercer Museum in Fonthill Castle. So originally I was just the Director of the Library and Archival Collection, but now my scope includes the museum object collection as well. So I oversee the curatorial department.
That's awesome. Did you always want to do this? Is this something that you grew up loving or?
I loved history. I grew up in North Jersey outside of New York City, so going to museums and historic sites was a big part of my childhood. My mother is a retired children's librarian. I worked in a public library when I was in high school, so books and history museums was always just part of my DNA, but it was just a hobby or an interest. My undergrad, I actually went to University of the Arts in Philadelphia for theater. I was a professional stage manager in Philadelphia for about a decade. And finally, I was like, this schedule is too hard. It's just a lot of nights and weekends. And so I went back and got my master's in library and archives and then started working at the museum in 2019.
That's awesome. I got my BA in history and now I do real estate. So you're definitely
Life paths are very weird, yeah.
yeah, you've definitely taken it and ran. Now, obviously you're in Philly, you come from North Jersey. What brought you to Bucks County? Philly has its own, obviously it's a huge history.
Yeah, we definitely have history in Philly. I was working at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania, which is located in Philadelphia, and it was very part-time new work, and I was looking to find a full-time position somewhere. And there was a listing for an assistant collections manager, which is really a museum object sort of position, but it had a library and archives angle because they wanted someone to take care of that collection. So I applied and got it. So I first came to the museum and I was absolutely one of those people that walked in with my jaw on the floor and was like, what is this place? What is this concrete castle in Bucks County? And just immediately fell in love with this location and with the collection, and the whole mission of the museum is just a really unique, remarkable place to work.
If someone never saw the Mercer Museum or Fonthill, first off, my boys love it. We've done the tour, and it's just so quirky and it's so amazing. What Henry Mercer, if you guys don't know, Henry Mercer he was a little bit eccentric. He was an architect. He did a lot, but he kind of preserved the collection. He preserved the tools and everything like that. Is people nowadays don't realize that you can drill with your hands and stuff like that. But my boys were so amazed by that. But was your thoughts when you first walked in and when you first learned about Henry?
Henry Mercer is a total fascinating character. He was one of the co-founding members of the Bucks County Historical Society, which is the organization that takes care of the Mercer Museum and Fonthill Castle, his private residence. And he is just a super eccentric, strange character. He had the benefit of growing up in a time period where if you had some generational wealth in your family, you had time to pursue your interests in what you were fascinated by. And he loved history, and he became a tile maker and ceramicist. He was a curator, he was a collector. He was not an architect. He was not a professionally trained architect. Only that just speaks to how even crazier these buildings are. This is something he dreamed up. There are no original blueprints or ground plans for the Mercer Museum or Fonthill Castle. It's all just notebooks we have in the archives where he's sketching out how he wanted the rooms to be laid out, where he wanted the staircases to be. So it speaks to just how organic and amazing these castles are.
That's amazing. So his prior residence, first off, that's still mind-boggling. That was his residence in Bucks
Mhm.
County,
Mhm.
and there's a number of historical sites in the area. But like when you drive past it, you see this concrete castle. First off, that's a marvel. I thought he was when I must not listen during the tour properly. But like how he designed that to live there. First off, to live there with this collection, with this speaks a lot to preserving the history in Bucks County. And what do you think your love for this history and in the history that a lot of people love of the Mercer Museum has evolved from?
I always say that Henry Mercer is really remarkable because he was blessed with incredible vision and foresight. He really could see decades, years in the future, and understood that he was living at a time when we were just throwing away these items that they took for granted. It's a spoon, it's a pot, it's these things that are just mundane. But he knew with the Industrial Revolution that everything was going to be mass produced and nothing was going to have these sort of unique marks that are created by something being made by hand, by a craftsman, by someone who has spent their whole lives perfecting their trade. And we're all just so grateful to him that he knew I have to save this stuff because it's just going to be thrown away. So I think most people who love history start from that place of like, we have to save everything because everyone's going to forget and then we're going to lose all of our shared history if we're not careful.
If we don't learn from history, we're doomed to repeat it, right? And that's the
100%. Yeah.
100%. Like I try to tell
Yeah.
my kids that all the time. We're in a new age. It's everything's digital.
Mhm.
There's no more. There's nothing tangible anymore. There's money's not even tangible anymore. Everything's online. He preserved it to a way that I guess frozen in time. What does that you're curating this? You're doing your deep dive into the history of it. What is a daily process? You're in the library right now. So
Mhm.
what is that your daily process with the curation entail?
So yeah, so I'm sitting in the old library here, which is the original library designed by Mercer. It's part of the Mercer Museum. We do have various extensions that have been added after Mercer's lifetime because, of course, this room is beautiful but not very big. So my responsibilities, I'm still learning my new position and all that entails, but a typical day in the library is we are open to researchers. So we do have folks who come in to do research in our collection, and they're members of library staff who help on-site researchers. So we make sure that we have everything we need to help them. I'm also responsible for the new gifts that get added to the collection. We are still collecting. People either donate things to us. Sometimes we can splurge a little bit and buy something that we feel is very special and really needs to be added to the collection. I do programming on Bucks County history, on the history of the library. We host a lot of tours here. Like we just had the Pennsylvania Genealogical Society here for a behind the scenes tour of the library. I was also the co-curator for the Doan exhibit, which we have up currently in the museum.
Which is
So
awesome.
yes, yes, we're
It is
so proud of
awesome.
that. Yeah, it's a really great exhibit. Yeah.
You were talking about gifts when I was looking on the YouTube and stuff like that. Like the blanket that had
Mm.
Doan's name on it, which was so cool. Like in Grandmom's chest, like here, like
That Expedition Unknown episode has done a lot of wonderful things for us because it just got this global attention on this story. And so all these people we normally never would have been able to contact are now reaching out to us like, I have a connection to the story. I have a Doan quilt in my
yeah.
family archives. It's incredible.
Guys, if you don't know about the Doan Gang, please tell them about it because it's so cool. It's you always look at the Wild West, you always look at the in history, you think it's somewhere else. Yeah, we grew up in Bucks County, yes, Washington across the Delaware, but that's about the stories that we know. But when you go inside the Mercer Museum and you learn stuff, especially like the Doan, what you just curated, it's just so impressive how it's right here. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Doan Gang was a loyalist gang. They were pro-British during the American Revolution, which I know a lot of people are like, why are you talking about loyalists during America 250 in 2026? But they are these unbelievably fascinating characters that were real people that are from Bucks County, and they were tasked with sabotaging the American Revolution. They're robbing tax collectors, they're ferrying British prisoners of war, they're spying, they're delivering messages. There are big robberies, the Bucks County Treasury in 1781, which was located in Newtown. And they are just these unbelievable characters that are an interesting entry point to the conversation of the revolution. We always like to say it's a local story told on a national scale. There was major impact on the revolution itself.
Yeah. If Tom Hanks, Steven Spielberg, please
Yes.
contact Annie.
Yeah, we
I
always say
mean,
Game of Dones whenever you're ready for a TV
yeah,
show.
I think it'd be good. I watched John Adams. That was a hell of a series they did, and it tied in Philadelphia and stuff like that. But again, it's right in our backyard when they robbed the bank right in Newtown. And people don't realize like that was huge. That was America, the lifeline for the American Revolution. That was a lot of money that could have funded.
Yeah,
So again, we can geek out about this all day long. When studying the Doan Gang and other parts of other historical figures in that time, which one do you think is next that they kind of deserves? I know this is a tough one because I know this wasn't on the script, but this was on my mind for a
yeah.
while. Just because, again, we were talking about like George Washington Cross again. He crossed Delaware. Everything's all the history's here, and then the Doan Gang. But have you come across any other ones that you think slight ones that maybe your next curated?
Yeah, we have not finalized what our next exhibit's going to be, so I don't want to promise anything,
Okay,
but
sorry.
there are so many fantastic stories, and there's definitely a desire to prototype some ideas. So our head curator and exhibit designer, Maya Hartman, has a couple things that she's cooking up where we want to try out. Bucks County true crime is a possible topic to try out. The travels of Henry Mercer, he was very well traveled, and there's all this incredible items that we have in the collection related to his travels. We there's an unbelievable amount of aeronautical history attached to Bucks County. There's so many aircraft corporations that were located in Bucks County. The human centrifuge, where almost every single astronaut trained, was in Bucks County. Amelia Earhart flew a plane out of
Yep,
Bucks County. There's just all this remarkable aeronautical history that we have, and that is definitely something that we're curious to unpack and see if it's worthy of an exhibit.
that's awesome. Yeah, it's people don't realize what an impact our area is now. I always try to tell my boys like imagine what it would be. Imagine like you're sitting or having dinner with a historical figure. Who would you like to have his dinner with? Let's say,
Me?
yeah, you in the historic figure wise.
Of Bucks County or all history?
You know what? We can do all history because there's a lot.
I definitely was unbelievably fascinated by the Romanovs when I was a kid because I grew up in the 90s when they found the grave sites of the Romanovs and the animated movie Anastasia came out, and I was just like, what is this mystery? I just was totally blown away by all the intrigue that sort of surrounds them as a story. So I would love to sit down with Anastasia of the Romanovs and just talk to her and see what life was like at that time period for
That's
sure.
awesome. Yeah, mine would be probably Benjamin Franklin, just because he's labeled as the founding father without holding any real title of president or vice president or something like that. Even though he was more powerful than most of the presidents, and again, located in Philadelphia, came through Bucks County. It's just amazing what we touch and what we have in our history that is sadly not taught today to
Yeah.
our students and our kids. I think there's a lot of misconception of what Bucks County, how important it was. What is one misconception you've seen and that you've tried to like, not fight, but straighten out?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'll focus on the Doan story because there's a ton of misinformation around the Doan story because they were the product of a lot of folklore. There were newspaper serials that were coming out in the 1850s in local Bucks County newspapers, and the Doans are really depicted as these sort of like Robin Hood, swashbuckling type characters, and they're stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, and that's not quite what they were doing. A big misunderstanding of the Doans is that they were pacifist Quakers turned violent by the Revolution. And research has uncovered that they broke with Quakerism long before the Revolution came about. There's a story that Moses Doan crossed the Delaware and warned the Hessian commander, Colonel Rawl, that George Washington was coming, and Rawl didn't read the note that Moses Doan brought him, and so that's why the Battle of Trenton took place, and unfortunately that has never been substantiated. We've never found anything that cements
That'd
that.
be
The
amazing.
earliest I know the earliest story tells that in the 1830s, so I think it was just unfortunately wishful thinking by someone who wanted to sell a lot of newspapers
Oh
and books.
yeah. Could you
Yeah.
imagine? Pull the Paul
Yeah, it would
Revere
be
and divorce
cool.
in reverse. You know what I mean? Like travel across the river right before that. That could have been, again, that could have reshaped what America, if America even happened,
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
here.
It's a tantalizing story, but we always try to say the truth is just as interesting as the fiction. And there was a cheesy line we used to say, my co-curator Clint Flack and I always used to say, is the treasure is the truth. So we promise the real story is just as juicy as the folklore.
Yeah. What do you? It's hard to get kids nowadays involved in history, or just out. What are you guys doing? I know I had to force my boys to go. What are we doing here? There's no TV, there's no screens, there's no sports. What are we doing here? And then when they got there, they were very intrigued by it. What are you guys doing to entice the youth to come over?
Yeah. Yeah, it is tricky, but we do have the benefit of being a really visually incredible place. Again, if you like maximalism, then this is the museum for you. There's just so much that's going on, and we have a fabulous education department that does a great job at creating programming. We have field trips here all the time, so I think a lot of people, if you're a kid, you meet us through a field trip where you come in and you're running around and you're doing scavenger hunts and you're trying to find things.
It's fun.
It is fun, and we
It is
have
fun.
craft projects that we host sometimes. And for the Doan exhibit, I have to say the Expedition Unknown episode does an incredible job at getting kids really excited because it's such an adventure TV show that
Hmm.
it gets you like, oh, where's the treasure? I want to look for the treasure. Then you come and you go to the exhibit and you don't get to see the treasure, but you do get to learn about the crazy story that took place right in your home county.
Now, if you do find a little bit of Doan treasure, allegedly,
Give me a call. Let me know. Yeah.
yeah, that's it. So, do you think have you found anything with Henry Mercer went all over the world? He got a lot of his style from everything he saw, basically. Have you seen anything? Have you heard any stories from across the country, across the world, where in his travels before building his residence and building the museum, that any like crazy stories that have influenced him to come back to Bucks County and
Yeah, he had an aunt, Elizabeth, who's his favorite aunt, who was a big believer in him and definitely saw his future as a historian, as an artist. He's this very serious looking man with a mustache, but he has the real heart of an artist. And she ensured that he traveled to Europe and met castles and architecture and museums and artwork and got all this exposure to the history that's happening over there, which he absolutely brought back to Bucks County and infused in his designs. He was an archaeologist. He traveled to different parts of the country doing archaeological digs. He does one in Mexico. He does a covered wagon trip to Tennessee where he creates a covered wagon. He does a riverboat trip where he builds his own riverboat and goes down French and German rivers in Europe and stops at different towns and cities along the way. He didn't just travel, he tried to time travel. He was in a covered wagon, he's in a riverboat, so he's not just sitting on a comfortable train rolling past the countryside. He's really immersing himself in what it was like to travel in these different ways.
yeah, the covered wagon was cool because this is during the Henry Ford and I think it's right around that time, right? For the cars are being introduced, or is it
It
18?
was earlier, so he's traveling 1880s,
Yeah,
1890s is when he's doing a lot of his trips.
okay.
But train travels certainly, there's
Yeah,
definitely more comfortable ways of traveling than a
oh
covered
yeah, I
wagon.
can imagine.
Yeah.
There's no sleeper cars in a covered wagon, so the
Yeah.
riverboat thing is cool. I did not read about that. That'd be something fun to do. Could you imagine building an old riverboat and going down?
Oh, he looks like he's having a great time. There's photos. We have this unbelievable glass negative, plate negative, and slide collection of images he's taking on his trip. And there's this great series of photos where he and his friends clearly got a couple bottles of French wine and they're like sitting at the banks of this river and like, someone's taking a nap with a hat on their face and they look like they're having a really great day.
That's fun. See, we could show kids now. Look, take a riverboat south of France and connect to Bucks County.
Sounds nice.
I think that you have a little bit of an uphill battle nowadays too, as well as that trying to get people to care about what happened 100, 200 years ago compared to everything that's in their face right now. And again, we're not talking politics or anything like that, but just the now, everything that's in now. What is your approach? Obviously, you're being promoted. You know what you're doing. What is your approach to, and congratulations again, if we hadn't said enough, to get people to care about something that happened 100, 150 years ago?
We're very fortunate that these objects are really easy entry points or gateways into human stories, because you'll see something here and it has someone's initials carved into it, or you can see witness marks where they're, because they always gripped something a certain way, it's left a different impression there. So there's these wonderful clues to how these objects interacted with humans, and then it makes people curious of who the human is. Why would you have something that looks like this? Why do you need a tool shaped this way? We have people's clothing here. We have in our archives, we have people's diaries and letters, and have all these really beautiful ways that people can learn about people who lived in Bucks County, and they're dealing with things similar to what we're dealing with today. They also are mad that it's raining today, or someone is sick, or someone's getting married. There are human experiences that are timeless.
Do you see a theme when discovering this? Do you see a theme that reoccurs in Bucks County over and over again? Are still people complaining about Jersey or like? No, I'm kidding.
Poor
I know you're North Jersey.
Jersey.
I'm kidding. No, but seriously. But again, history is doomed to repeat it. Do you see anything when going through the archives, going through the journals? Oh, I got to travel all the way down River Road, and there's traffic,
Yeah.
or there's deer, or there's stuff like that?
Yeah, there's always things, human beings will always be annoying, right? There's always things that are, oh, I gotta, this is my farming task today, or yeah, someone's sick and I have to go travel to them, or somebody owes me money and they haven't paid me. There are lots of things that feel familiar to today. And yeah, there's always people are upset with the election didn't go the way that they wanted it to, or there's a law that's being passed that they don't like. There's both big sort of human concerns and then very small human concerns that always show up in anything that you're researching or someone's story that you're trying to tell, for sure.
That's so much fun. I like it's funny, I put my realtor hat on. I like the recording of the deeds. It's nowadays, obviously, the lawyers would have a field day and everything that was done, but just again, Bucks County alone, like this land was here sold by this day. And it's just impressive to see not only what it was sold for, but, or what it was, the land that was used to, like, how they recorded everything and how it was just done on a handshake. It was done on not just an honor system. It was just amazing what you guys have
Yeah. As far as property research goes, that is a huge component. That's a big attraction to coming and visiting us, is property research. We have lots of people who buy a gorgeous stone house here in Bucks County, or even something more recent, and want to learn more about when the house was built, who was the first person to live on it, and we're the depository for Bucks County government records, starting essentially from the formation of the county in the 1680s to the 1930s, and that includes deeds. And deeds can be very dry, boring, this many acres for this many dollars or pounds or whatever. But sometimes there's a survey of someone's property and you can see like a little drawing of their house and where their house was located. And sometimes you'll get like their neighbors and who their neighbors were. And there's all these like little great windows into what life was like in that time period simply from something like a deed.
Yeah. You ever find anything like when looking at the deeds, like initials? And again, this is not like a national treasure type of thing, but do you ever go down that rabbit hole? It's like this deed was sold to P&S, and again, I know it's a reference to National Treasure, but do you follow that? Do you ever go down that rabbit hole? Because that's what
Oh,
I would do.
we love rabbit holes here. We all get totally obsessed by something and we want to. I feel like if you're in this line of work, there's a little part of you that also loves like true crime or mysteries because
Yeah,
you just want to get to the bottom of something. So we'll find if someone comes in asking a research question, we adopt that as our own and we'll get totally obsessed about something. Or we're processing a collection and we're introduced to a mystery that way. And suddenly we're like, I have to know where they were born. I have to know who their parents were, whatever the mystery is. We love rabbit holes for
that's
sure.
awesome. I think that's really cool that you can find not only that, who their neighbor was, and then you could put two and two together. Oh, these people knew this, or these people hooked up, or something like that, because they
Right.
were yeah,
You learn like, oh, that's why they're married. They live
exactly.
down
That's
the
it. Yeah,
street.
oh,
Got
now
it.
we
Yeah, yeah,
connect the
yeah.
dots. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get back to the podcast in just a second, but I just wanted to tell you about what I do. I've been a licensed realtor in Bucks County for the past 20 years. I serve Bucks County, Montgomery County, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all over the place. And I also have helped out hundreds of families buy, sell, and invest in real estate. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, don't hesitate to call me. Reach out, DM me, whatever you need to do, and let's start working together. All right, now we'll be back to the podcast. The drama and the true crime. Do you feel like that's a way to inspire people to become a historian? I know it's a hard field to inspire people to get into because it's not as flashy, but it is interesting.
Yeah, it's not glamorous, but I would not call myself a historian necessarily because those are people who dedicate years to pursuing a PhD or something like that. I love history and I love my work and meeting history through papers or objects or whatever we have in the collection. And I think there are a lot of people who end up really interested in it. It's just that I think people have to be introduced to the idea that an interest can be a career. It's like you don't necessarily grow up and going, I want to be a historian or an archivist, but you are interested in paper or you're interested in books, and all of a sudden you're like, oh wait, there are careers that exist where I can take that passion and turn it into my job. I think that is a great way to get people attracted to this field for sure.
Now, with that being said, what do you think Bucks County needs a better job of doing when archiving things and doing? You guys are doing your job, but have you seen anything throughout with the Historical Society, with the Mercer Museum, everything like that? If you're seeing like everything that's going around today, do you feel like people are not holding on to history as well? Do you think that it could do a better job that we as citizens could do too?
Yeah, that's a great question. Something that is a big part of our work here at the museum is the people who are in charge of the museum and the collection for its birth and for a good first chunk of its life were men of a certain economic standing who are typically white. And so we have major gaps in our collection where we're not collecting women, we're not collecting people of color, we're not collecting indigenous, we definitely have holes that we need to fill because we're the Bucks County Historical Society. We should represent Bucks County and the people who live here. And so that is really something we're trying to do, is making sure that we're representing more voices and more communities. And something that is a big part of our work now is what we call collecting the now, because we are living in history all the time. During COVID, everyone was really interested in the 1918 flu pandemic, which we were obviously absolutely around. And people came to us and what do you have related to that? And we had essentially nothing. And that's because they were trying to survive it. They're literally just trying to live through this really crazy time period. And they unfortunately didn't really think, we should be clocking what's happening and saving things. So when COVID happened, we have vials that held the vaccine that people were getting. We asked for the vials from the Doylestown hospital. We have letters and posters that children wrote to nurses thanking them for being on the front lines. We have a video that people took of outdoor concerts that are taking place in parking lots for nursing homes. So like all this really great stuff that felt crazily part of our lives at that time. And we were all obviously trying to survive this moment, but luckily we were able to zoom out for a second and go, wait a minute, we have to save this stuff because in 50 years, I don't want somebody mad at me that I didn't, during my time here, that I didn't save anything from COVID. So it's like, you really have to have that really long view of everything that's going on.
That's wild. So you got to save your DoorDash receipts, and everyone was DoorDashing and watching like Last Dance on Netflix. So.
I mean, we had this is the tutorial where I was teaching people how to make masks out of socks. It was just like, what were we doing? We were just it was so insane.
That's funny. And I guess now we can directly link to what we did with COVID to the pandemic, the flu pandemic, and then further and further. So again, if you can curate that as well.
History's a wheel. It just turns and things repeat themselves, and in some places we get smarter and in some places we don't, and you just have to see it all as a piece of a whole.
That's awesome. So another question with this, and again, what is your favorite town in Bucks County in the past, and what is it now?
Oh,
because you found a lot. First off, it wasn't always all the little towns. There wasn't Levittown, but
yes, and I always hesitate because I'm even shy to say this. I do not live in Bucks
Yeah.
County. I'm not from Bucks County. And if there's anything I've learned in my 7 years here is there's no county I've ever met that is so proud of itself. I think it's so remarkable and so admirable. I grew up in Essex County, New Jersey. Nobody nobody cared about being from Essex County, New Jersey. But you meet people here and you ask where are you from? They say Bucks County. They don't say Doylestown.
Hmm.
They say what county they're from. And I think that's so remarkable and speaks to how much pride everyone has of living here. So I feel like I'll get in major trouble if I pick a town out of all the towns. Obviously, I'm very biased to Doylestown because that's where the museum is located. And I've worked here for a number of years. I love all the businesses that are here. I've gotten to meet a lot of people who live across the street here and who are very invested in the museum. So I do love Doylestown. And then, of course, I would say Newtown is totally fascinating because it was the county seat prior to Doylestown. So it's the county seat during the American Revolution, during all these major time periods. And there's so many historic structures that are still standing in Newtown that are like right there next to the Starbucks is where the Loyalist raid of the Bird in Hand took place, is just across the street or whatever. So I think Newtown is beautiful and historically very significant for Bucks County.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, listen, we're not going to hold it against you.
No, don't come for me.
You
I
don't worry.
swear.
No,
I
we
haven't seen
appreciate
all of
you.
Bucks County.
We appreciate you. Even though you're from Jersey, we appreciate you because you're teaching us so much. And yes, we do love Bucks County. We name podcasts after it, for God's sakes. You know,
Right,
you
right.
know, for
And
yeah.
I've adopted it. It's so near and dear to my heart. I live in Philadelphia. I live 45 minutes away, and you have to love something very much to drive an hour every day to and from work. So
Hey,
it is holds my
I
heart.
get
Yeah.
it. My wife works in the center city, so she drives an hour every day too. She loves it. She works for Community College of Philadelphia. So again,
Oof.
it's the same thing. It's a love. So I think the traffic's a little different for you too, but God bless you on that one.
She probably has it worse, actually.
Probably she does. I don't worry. She'll yell at me for that. She know she does. Do you ever go to the museums in Philly to get ideas of?
Yeah. Yes. I love museums.
Do you
I
get them
mean,
for
I'm lucky.
free? You should get them for.
I do
All right.
sometimes. There is sometimes, if you say you work in a museum, they will comp your admission, which is
Good.
very kind. And I try to visit a lot of museums and historic houses, like the Warren Esherick House is very similar to the Mercer Museum in that it's an artist who built this really unusual home that is very much influenced by his art. The Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum in Boston has Mercer tiles in it, and she
Oh
was
wow.
actually a contemporary and friend of Henry Mercer. She came to Fonthill, she signed the guest book and called it Babylon. They have correspondence back and forth. I try to visit these places that have these Mercer, Bucks County connections, but also I'm just interested in how are other people telling stories? What type of programming do they have? How do they write their labels? How are things displayed? Because you can't create anything in a vacuum. You need to have sort of the inspiration of what other people are up to make something better.
Nice. That's interesting. I didn't realize that he sent his tiles out. Obviously he did, but you always see
They're
that.
all over the country.
Yeah.
There are Mercer tiles all over the country. If have you ever been to the Capitol in Harrisburg?
Yes.
It's the largest art installation in the Capitol of Mercer tiles. That's
I
a
didn't realize
whole
it. I never.
floor.
You just blowing my mind right now that I like. First off, Harrisburg is boring sometimes as heck, but like when I was like, I was a little bit more involved in politics back in the day. But obviously, it's a great look when you're not there for that reason.
Yes.
But I didn't realize those are Mercer tiles. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, I was there for an archives conference and they offered a tour and they were like, well, first off, here are the Mercer tiles. And I was like, I work at the Mercer Museum. I
That's
got
cool.
so excited. I was like, I know him.
Everyone else is like, wow.
It's beautiful. I've always seen images and photos and all that, but to see it in person, I was like, this is
Yeah.
unbelievable.
I never put two and two together. That's amazing.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
you
have
have to
to
go
go there.
back.
I'm gonna go back. I will. I like.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm gonna bring the boys. I'm gonna drag them around, and they'll
yeah.
hate me for that. What do you think the best time is to go to Harrisburg for? Like,
I went last May and I actually had a lovely time. There's an incredible bookstore that's in like 1920s movie theater that's there. There's
oh,
breweries. There's the State Museum. The Pennsylvania State
yeah,
Museum is there, which is very cool. There's a lot that's going on in Harrisburg. I was really pleased with my time there.
nice. And what do you think the best time to visit? Every day is a great time to visit you guys. But listen, Fonthill Castle during Christmas time, during the holidays, is second to none.
Oh
And
yeah.
now, just the decorations alone and the stained glass and is just amazing. Do you is that your favorite time, like everyone else, or do you
I
have?
mean, I am lucky. I can go whenever I want, and I get the benefit that I get to walk around when nobody else is
Oh,
there.
that's cool.
So I am super spoiled. But what we do for Fawn Hill Christmas time with the trees is so special. It's such a labor of love. There's so many people at the museum that they design the trees, they're buying all the ornaments, they're installing everything. It's incredible the transformation they're able to do there. And I'm very partial to the Mercer in the fall because we are a concrete castle that does not have air conditioning or heat, so
Yes.
it can be quite warm or quite cold depending on the time of year. So fall is that really sweet spot where the temperature is really nice, and then you can go high up. If you go to the very, very top floor on the elevator, there's a little balcony that looks over a lot of Doylestown, and so you can see all the trees being different colors and things like that. And I just think it's a really beautiful time of year to be in Bucks County in general. It's gorgeous in the fall.
That's awesome. I've never gone in the fall, and I have to go now.
Oh,
So I've gone
so
Christmas
nice.
time. I've gone in the spring before it gets hot in there in the Mercer Museum, but and had
Mhm.
an amazing tour. And we ran, like I said, we ran up to every level. We went through everything. Went down, checking out everything from the basement to the leather and all that stuff, which was awesome.
Yeah,
But
amazing.
I gotta go in fall time now. There's two things I gotta do. I gotta go in the fall.
Hmm.
I gotta go to Harrisburg as well and check out the Mercer tile. That's amazing. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's really, he's prolific. He's everywhere. There are people reaching out from Virginia that's like, we have a tile installation in our local municipal building, and I've just learned it's Henry Mercer and who's Henry Mercer and what's going on. And we have his personal papers in our archives and also job records from the Moravian Pottery and Tile Works, which produced all the
yeah.
tiles. So we can look up correspondence and tile drawings and blueprints. And sometimes there's even samples, like there'll be little pieces of
Oh wow.
fabric that the architect sent. We're trying to get it to match this color, and so there's all this fun stuff that you can find related to the installations.
Yeah, they didn't have the Home Depot app where you can match colors. Like again, that's
Not
again,
running to Lowe's, yeah.
yeah. That's another thing that people don't realize. This is all by hand. There's no technology. This is all correspondence by mail or courier, and like
Yeah.
this is a wild. So
Mhm.
I think this is amazing, and I love listening to it. And now you do a little bit of YouTube short too, so I love it. I don't know if you like it, but I like it. So
I love it. We were really lucky. We've collaborated with the Doty Research Institute. So Anna Doty was a curator at the Mercer Museum in Philadelphia, and she is an unbelievable expert and genius when it comes to forensic science and in science, like the just medical history and medical science. And she had been to the museum before, but had never realized we had a medical tool collection. And so we have all these crazy medical implements. And she does this YouTube series, and she invited us to be part of it. And we selected a couple key items from the object collection and highlighted them, and we did this YouTube series. So it was me and the former head of our department, Corey Amsler, who just retired after 38 years here at the museum.
wow.
And we got to sit and nerd out and be very silly and have a really good time. And that's, to your point before, that's how you get young people
Yeah.
interested. You meet them where they are. They're on YouTube, they're on social media. So let's bring them the history to where they're consuming media.
We'll have to link it because I liked it. I thought it was very cool. And
They're fun. Yeah.
if you see someone looking at it 2:30 in the morning, that was me in the video. So
Okay, great.
I know I
Yeah,
apologize.
there's great stories. The autopsy bucket is just a
Yeah,
bizarre artifact that
Biz-
we have in the collection.
bizarre but fun. You know,
Very cool.
see,
Yeah.
that's not my type of thing. Like the true crime and stuff like that is not mine. But
Yep. Yep.
there's a lot of people. There's a whole world of people that would
Yes.
love that. And the true crime genre and all that, and the autopsy thing was crazy. Now, one word. We'll do a little last thing. What is one word
Mhm.
would you describe for the Mercer Museum and one word for the Fonthill Castle? Because I like putting you on the spot here. This is fun.
Yeah. Fonthill Castle, I would say this is so silly, but the word that leaps to mind when I think of Fonthill Castle is home,
Yeah,
because it is home and it feels like a home. It feels like someone who built a little nest for themselves and just surrounded themselves with their favorite things, and he just got to look at beautiful things he made or bought on his travels, or his books and his tiles and his prints. Like, he just was able to create this little home for himself. He literally, from the ground up,
yeah.
made himself a home.
You said he had no architecture. That's a wild.
I know, what a
OSHA would have
weirdo.
went nuts for that.
So cool.
It's
It's
so
just,
cool.
and also at the time period, you don't have to get permits.
Yeah,
There's no inspection. You can just throw up a concrete castle
it's
on a
amazing.
piece of property you own, and everyone's like, okay, cool, great. Yeah.
All right, and the one I
Um,
apologize. It still fascinates me that he did that all on his own, but basically by hand and by
yeah.
drawings.
And the Mercer Museum, that's a really, it's tough because to me, the Mercer Museum is two sides of a coin, because I'm gesturing to the where the object collection is all on display, and then also there's the library, and I see that as like two sides of like a best friend necklace, where it's like together they make a whole thing.
I like that.
And so the library and archives, I just think, is so special because it's accessible to the general public. You don't have to be a PhD student to come here and do research. You just have to have an interest in history and want to see some cool stuff. So I like to think of the library as something for the curious.
Mhm.
So I use the word curious because you have to really dig to find the things that are interesting to you. In the Mercer Museum, you have really stung me, but I would just say, like, this is so silly, but it's just like you walk in and you just go, ooh, it's just
Eclectic,
your
yeah.
eyes just light up. There's just so much visual joy that's happening there. There's so many things to look at that are so exciting and different, and you're looking at a whaleboat dangling 3 stories above your head, and you're looking underneath a whaleboat, and there's a fire engine, and there's all the stuff that you never would meet otherwise. So it's not really a word, but I think it would just be like,
No,
hooray!
yeah, no, it's definitely. I
Ooh.
remember walking in for the first time and just like looking up and just you can't say I can't really say this on there like holy
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it's amazing. That's
Uh,
awesome. Well,
it's a marvel.
you should do the friendship bracelets idea and sell them. I think that'd be great.
Library museum.
Yeah, like I think that'd be awesome. One side Mercer, the museum, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
the library. That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
I really appreciate this. I had a great time talking to you
Yeah.
about this, and I really think that people need to see what is out there. What you have to experience it for yourself. You have to experience Fonthill at Christmas
Hmm.
time, Mercer Museum in the
Hmm.
fall. You can come anytime,
Hmm.
but just remember there's
Yes,
no
yes,
AC.
yes.
Springtime was
The
fun.
summers are rough. The summers are rough. Yeah.
Springtime was fun. We ran around, and like you said, if you have little kids and you do the scavenger hunt, and it's fun,
Hmm.
you walk through everything. I have boys, so they like the weapons and they liked all the
Yeah.
hammer. Like, of course, like the jewelry is amazing, the decorations, but
Right.
you've got an amazing collection, and I cannot wait to see what's next. I wish you could give me a hint here, so as an exclusive, but it's fine.
Stay tuned.
I will
Stay
stay
tuned.
tuned. Listen, you got to check out Annie, her YouTube. You got to check out the Mercer Museum. You got to check out Fonthill Castle. It was a great step back in time, and thank you so much for curating all this and preserving this history. This is something that a lot of people should thank you for because,
Oh,
if again, this is something that we all need is to learn history and learn about the past and know where we came from as Bucks County and the
yeah.
stories that we have of Bucks County. So thank you again so much, guys. Check out Annie. Check out the Mercer Museum. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and thank you and have a great day. Thank you, Annie.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining the podcast today. If you want to hear more, click the link below and check out our other episodes. If you're looking to be on the podcast, feel free to reach out to me, DM me, whatever you need to do. I'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to share your stories. Have a good one.